you imagine
friend, but-
having 4 at the same
No, I
time?
For the
can't.
clock.
Hi,
Yes.
Sally.
My wife had 3, but they were not at one time.
Yeah, that would be something.
Enough to tax us.
Wow.
Thank you, Chairman Carter. Would you bow your heads with us for our invocation? Lord our God, we know that it is good to give thanks, and as we gather together this afternoon in this room, together we are most thankful for this great healthcare system we call Sarasota Memorial. We're thankful for the care provided to our community around the clock in this hospital that never closes. We're thankful for the doctors, the nurses, and the staff whose energy, intellect, and efforts make it all happen. We give thanks for those who diligently attend to their patients on the hospital floor, for the gentle, skilled hands of those who tend to the fragile babies in the neonatal unit. We give thanks for the staff who give their time and attention to our patients in surgery and intensive care. And we're thankful for the heroic efforts of our trauma team as they fight to save the lives of our neighbors who are in crisis. Lastly, we give thanks for this hospital board as they give graciously of their time and talents to guide the provision of care and compassion to our community, not only this day, but in the years to come. For all these things, together we give thanks. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Sarasota County Public Hospital Board. And start with a comment. Any citizen desiring to address the hospital board, turn the speaker card to the board secretary. Citizen comment pertains to an item on the agenda today. The comment will be heard early in this meeting. Otherwise, it will be at the end. Speakers are asked to limit their comments to 5 minutes. Vendors, suppliers, or other persons seeking hospital contracts awarded on a competitive basis are reminded that their ability to address the board may be restricted by the terms of the invitation for bid, request for proposal, or other purchasing criteria. Lastly, the board has established a claims adjustment review panel comprised of representatives of the board, medical staff, administration, legal counsel, to review and negotiate the settlement of claims. Accordingly, the board will not entertain comments on or discuss or negotiate claims at this meeting. And we'll start with the approval of the orders of the day.
Move approval.
Any questions or comments? None. The orders are approved as presented. And now for the minutes for the meeting of April 17th.
Move approval.
Second.
Other comments or concerns? Minutes of April 17th as presented. Let's see, we have board reports today. So we will start with our first item on the agenda, our Trauma Services Annual Report from Dr. Alan Rockford.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure today to give a 2-year update to the board. I wanted to take a little look at where trauma has been in the past, over the past 2 years, where we are at present, and where we're going in the future. So I wanted to take a minute to look at our statistics. The next 3 slides all have some numbers as to where we're going with our various trauma numbers. The red line that's pictured on the bottom is the 2015-2016, and then the blue line above is 2016-2017. The time frame is May 1st of each year to April 30th of the following calendar year. The reason that May 1st was chosen was May 1st of 2015 was our first year that we became a provisional level 2 trauma center. So looking at the volume over the first year, as you can see, the trauma alert volume was roughly 50 a month when we started out, and then over the second year, we're averaging around 150 or 160 a month of trauma alerts. These are the patients that are most significantly injured that meets the trauma alert criteria in the field or when they present to the hospital, such that the trauma service is activated to come see them immediately. The next slide looks at the trauma service admissions. Again, similar blue and red colors with last year and this year. As you can see, kind of the trend is increasing volume. There is some seasonal variability overall, as we expect. But by and large, it's kind of getting busier and busier. So this is the number of patients admitted to the trauma service. This is everyone that goes into what we call the trauma registry. The trauma registry is the data bank which kind of holds, the computer data bank which holds all the trauma patients. So we have trauma registrars, which are individuals that are kind of entering the data, the computer entry, to keep track of all these people who are traumatically injured. So how that's defined essentially is a trauma diagnosis and then admission to the hospital in general, or they can be in a trauma alert criteria even if they're not admitted, whether they're transferred or something like that. But what we can see is that we're averaging around 300 a month or so trauma patients going into the registry. And again, the trend is that we're getting busier overall. So looking back, the initial prediction of volume was estimated to be about 300 to 500 trauma patients per year. What we saw the first year was around 1,600 patients were seen by the trauma service, about 3 to 5 times the initial predicted volume. Over the second year in that same time frame, we saw 2,800 trauma patients, 5 to 9 times the initial volume predicted. So again, significantly busier than initial estimates. And where are we going this third year? If I had to predict, I would say that we're going to see at least 3,500 patients this year and maybe more. It's just one of those, if you build it, they will come type of situation. So we're seeing more and more trauma patients. We're averaging probably 6 or 7 trauma alerts on a daily basis at this present time. So again, looking a little bit at our numbers, over the first 2 years, we saw over 5,500 injured patients here at Sarasota Memorial that went into the trauma registry. 4,700 were admitted to the hospital, and over 3,000 of these were admitted to the trauma service. Over that same time frame, we saw 2,700 or so trauma alerts, an average of about 114 a month. And again, these people previously would have not come to Sarasota Memorial since they met trauma alert criteria. They would have gone to one of the other regional trauma centers previously. So, and again, keeping in mind that we started with around 50 a month and now we're currently around 160 a month, it's, around 5 or so patients a day that are coming to this hospital that previously would have not come here. The next statistic, if I had to do it over, I'd probably bold it, but again, we're very proud of our overall mortality rate, which is 2.51%. The National Trauma Data Bank benchmark, that's the national benchmark, which we're compared against, is 4.31%. So we're well below the National Trauma Data Bank. There's a couple statistics there that I will address a little bit more on the next slide, but our W statistic shows that the number of patients that are surviving more than predicted out of the every 100 patients, that number is 2.496. And again, I'll explain what that means in a second. And our Z-score is 9.6274, and any score that's greater than 1.96 indicates that significantly more patients survive than predicted. So this is a little chart kind of to work through those numbers and what they actually equate to. This is a moving target. So if I went to my trauma registrar and said print out this list every day, it would be different because the data keeps getting inputted and keeps changing and growing. The more patients that are entered into the data, obviously the more statistically significant things become. So looking initially at the time this slide was created, 5,200 or so patients were in the trauma registry. The number of deaths were 131. In order for us to run the statistical analysis to predict how these people are going to do, we need a complete set of data. So the number of patients that had a complete set of data essentially is that 4,700 number. And if we look at those patients, the number of survivors we had were 4,600, so there was 104 deaths. The statistical analysis would predict that over that same time period, there should have been 221 deaths. So again, there's about 117 people that survived that were not predicted by the statistics to survive. And if we look at the mortality of the patients that we have full data sets for, it's actually 2.21%, which is, again, half the national average. So we're very proud of that. Again, it's a moving target, and we can't save all people. Some people come in and they're, they have non-survivable injuries, but we think that we're doing a very good job. We also think that, initially when a trauma center started, there's some bumps in the roads and other things, and it would actually be expected to have a worse mortality than the National Trauma Data Bank standard, because over time things improve in your trauma facility. But right now it looks like that everything is going pretty well. So where did we start? Going back about 2.5 years ago, the hospital and the board had a vision that they wanted to have a level 2 trauma center here. It was felt to be a moral obligation to the community. And so around that same time frame, myself and Dr. Jakeson Arali, my partner, we came to town to assist the hospital in setting up this trauma center here at Sarasota Memorial. The Department of Health standards for Florida require that you have at least 5 surgeons that support the trauma program. You can't just have 2 people doing it on their own, and that has to do with the nature of the fact that, the call is 24 hours, and they just don't think that, 3 guys can handle it on their own. So we did enlist the help of Dr. Fitzgerald and Dr. Hallbreck, who are already here as part of the community, and surgeons, and they've been with us ever since. So initially the 5 of us kind of undertook this big project of, along with the hospital, of starting a level 2 trauma center here at Sarasota Memorial. About that same time, the hospital was in negotiations with Dr. Klima, who came in under FPG. Dr. Klima is a orthotraumatologist, which means his expertise is in repairing highly complex orthopedic injuries. As you all well know, there's a lot of fantastic orthopedic surgeons here at the hospital, but trauma requires some additional expertise, especially when it comes to the very complex pelvic injuries. So Dr. Klima was able to provide that. So where are we now? Where we are now is we have added to the team. So we currently have 6 double board certified general and surgical critical care surgeons. Dr. Schumacher, who's on the end, recently accepted a position to be a trauma medical director at a different hospital in Louisiana. So he's leaving our ranks, but we will still need to replace him and probably add 1 or 2 more. Dr. Schutz, who was born and raised in Sarasota and always wanted to work at this hospital, is just biding his time and waiting till you guys put together a trauma center. So he came back to help us with that. And Dr. Lorena, who's actually the director of USF Camels in downtown Tampa, also joined our ranks. Dr. Bersino, who was one of the FPG surgeons, has also kind of been part of the trauma group now as well. So we actually have 9 people that are taking trauma call at present. And then Dr. Holden was added as a second orthopedic traumatologist due to the kind of, again, workload of the severe, highly complex orthopedic injuries that we're seeing. Well, we can't do it all ourselves, so it's not just about physicians. Again, trauma is a team sport. So we added more people to the mix. We have the PAs and NPs there in the top row. The first 2 that were hired were Robert and John, and those 2 were quickly joined by Jason and Christy. And those were sort of our original 4 PAs and NPs. And subsequent to that time, we were able to add Lynn, Caitlin, and Joe, as you see across the top. Lynn is interesting in that she was an ICU nurse here for trauma, and then became a trauma resource nurse, and then finished her NP degree and joined the trauma team. So she's kind of grown up with the trauma program as well, and we're lucky to have her. Not pictured there, we also have another 4 or 5 PAs or NPs that are on a per diem basis with the trauma team. Looking at the second row, again to the right, the 4 people pictured there, we have 4 trauma resource nurses. And what are they? Well, the PAs and NPs are very hard to find. They're difficult to find these very skilled individuals that are specific to trauma. You have to know a lot. You have to be able to do a lot. And so we've had difficulty kind of hiring enough PAs and NPs to make everything run. So we were able to add some trauma nurses that have been integral in helping. They can't do the procedures that the PAs and NPs can do, but they can do a lot of other stuff to assist the physicians in the day-to-day runnings of the trauma team. Looking to the far left, Sue Olson has, on the hospital side, has become the director of trauma as well as the ICU. Directly under her leadership is Catalina Jakowski, and Catalina is over the trauma ICU and the trauma floor, the progressive care unit. Katie Hipscher was now just hired as the clinical coordinator of the Trauma Progressive Care Unit, and Kim next to her is our education person. Over the trauma program is Jennifer Sweeney, our trauma program manager. Directly under her is Leanne and Andrea, our performance improvement folks. And then kind of working across the bottom row, Kirsten, our service is obviously very complex. There's a lot of patients coming and going. And we actually are lucky enough to have a full-time trauma pharmacist to help us figure out all the medications these patients are on, make sure that we're doing the proper thing with antimicrobial stewardship and other things. We're also blessed to have Summer as our full-time case manager. She's kind of a miracle worker when it comes to helping us get patients out of the hospital, especially when they have complex injury and they need rehab and they don't have insurance and things like that. She's really amazing. And again, the four people to the bottom right-hand corner, 3 of them are our registrars. Again, these are the people that input the data in the system for us. And then Kara, who's our administrative assistant, who kind of keeps us all on task. So I want to take a minute to talk about some of our trauma success stories. So we do a Trauma Grand Rounds as an educational event every month. Periodically, we do something called Trauma Success Stories, where we bring back some of our severely injured patients and kind of look at their stories, amazing stories of survival. And so the purpose of this is education, but it's also about bringing everyone together to say, look what you guys did. It's amazing how these people survived, and it wouldn't be possible unless everyone was working together as a team. So all these folks have agreed to release their information to the public, so they sign HIPAA release forms, and they want to share their stories. So I wanted to take a couple minutes just to look at some of these slides at some of our success stories and just focus on things really quickly. The upper left-hand corner, the guy in the green, is Joe Bucci. He was one of our first trauma patients. He's a member of the Sarasota Orchestra. He had a motor vehicle crash and tore a small intestine. We were able to operate, and he did very well following that. Trauma is the 3rd leading cause of death overall. It's the leading cause of death in ages 15 to 45. And so when you look at years of life lost, trauma is the one that is the most significant, even when compared to cardiac disease or cancer. So especially when we save someone younger, it kind of means a lot to us because they have a long, productive life ahead of them. The 2 slides to the right, the lady in the kind of orange color is Nancy Logan. Nancy Logan was 89 years old, severe motor vehicle crash, came in coding, so chest compressions, in blunt traumatic injury, people that have their hearts stop and get chest compressions as a result of a car accident or something like that have essentially a 1% or less chance of survival. So Nancy went on to do very well. The picture to the far right is her 90th birthday party, where she was doing very well. Unfortunately, she did end up dying subsequent to this, but not as a result of any trauma-related injuries. The picture on the bottom, the guy in the center holding the picture frame is Brady O'Brien, and he's with a bunch of our ICU nurses, and then Christy, who's one of our nurse practitioners to the far left. Brady O'Brien's story, again, he's a national ability triathlete. He was in Venice competing in a triathlon. He was in the bicycle portion of the triathlon where he was hit by a car. Very severely injured, bilateral rib fractures, severe pulmonary contusions. Because of all of his injuries, really was not expected to survive. During this time frame, we also found out that he was born with a hole in his heart, and he was still competing at this level without knowing that. And how we figured it, how we figured that out was he ultimately had strokes. He developed blood clot. It passed through the hole in his heart. He went to the brain. He had multiple areas of strokes in his brain, and again, a 20-something-year-old person. But Brady pulled through. He did very well, and currently, we'll talk about him a little bit more, but currently has no deficits and is back competing, actually. We'll talk about him again in a second. Some of the other pictures, top left-hand corner, the first guy next to, between Dr. Rowley and myself is James Riley. He was a severe gunshot wound to the back, left back to the right front abdomen, injured both kidneys, spleen, liver, bowel, colon, pretty much pancreas. Everything that was in there was injured. Again, really not expected to survive. He spent 3 months in the hospital with us. And then walked out. And he is now, and that's because he was so good, he didn't need rehab at that point. Not because he was like upset or anything. I heard it come out of my mouth, and I'm like, you walked out. But Mr. Riley's back to winning golf tournaments, so he's doing very well. The person between myself and Dr. Klima is Michael Barber. Michael Barber was in a severe motor vehicle crash. Again, he's a 20-something-year-old person. He has very moving stories about his best friend who was in the car with him, who was killed at the scene, and he was completely, aware of it at the time. He had 4 out of 4 extremities broken, in addition to other things in his pelvis, but both arms, both legs broken in multiple places. He also had a carotid injury and had a stroke as well. He underwent neurointerventional stent placed here, as well as complex orthopedic procedures by Dr. Klima. And as you can see, he's standing there, is normal, his mental status is normal, he's done very well for himself. The upper picture to the right of that, John Azendorf and Cheryl Pepper. Both of these individuals had severe motor vehicle crashes. Both of them had torn aortas that were dealt with by endovascular repair here, so they had stents placed in their aorta here. Mr. Azendorf in the blue shirt had approximately 200 units of blood transfused and went on to survive. Again, incredibly amazing. He's currently a chef across the street in one of the local restaurants, so he's doing, again, very well for himself. The bottom picture in the center is Mr. Ralph Grunwald, who, again, was a competitive triathlete. He was practicing. He was on the 50th of 60 miles riding his bicycle when he was hit by a vehicle. He had severe injuries to his back, degloving injuries that, again, was not expected to survive because of the tissue loss on his back and the concern for sepsis and other things. He's pictured there with the team, the Northport Fire and Rescue team, who brought him here to the hospital. A little bit more about Brady. Again, amazing person, amazing athlete. Brady went back to UCLA, and he coached his women's triathlete team to the national championship again this year. He is currently planning to attend law school in the fall. And he's also partnered with the Suncoast Blood Bank in terms of making some commercials. I was going to play the first one, but we can't. We don't have any volume on the YouTube video here, but the references are there, so you guys can check them out yourself. They're very moving videos. The first one is him and his mother, as well as the second one. The first one's 30 seconds. The second one's about 3 minutes. But it kind of looks at his traumatic injuries and what he thought and what he felt and what he went through at the time, and how he's very grateful that folks donate blood to the Suncoast Blood Bank and other blood banks so that people can survive his injuries. And he's pictured there with 2 guys with the American flags on their shirt. Those were 2 of his donors that he received transfusions from. So to kind of wrap up, the future of the trauma service, where do we see things going? Again, I see increased trauma volume coming. I think that it would not be unreasonable for us to see 3,500 or maybe even 4,000 patients in the coming year. We have talked a little bit about previously, we have not taken isolated hip fractures on the trauma service. It was considered kind of a low mechanism injury of trauma if you just fall down, break your hip. By and large, these people previously were on the hospitalist service with an orthopedic consultant following. But we have talked a little bit about possibly taking these people on the trauma service as well. That volume there is anywhere between 900 and 1,000 patients a year. Surgical intensive care unit, again, we've been very focused on having the trauma service kind of up and running and doing whatever we could to make that service go. But again, presently you do have 5 board-certified surgical critical care intensivists here at this hospital. And it's rare at this point for a hospital of this size to not have a surgical ICU that's managed by a surgical critical care intensivist. So I think that's something that we could probably look towards in the future, as well as neurocritical care service. Similarly, in a stroke center of excellence, as Sarasota Memorial is, it would probably be a great idea to have a dedicated neurocritical care service, which, again, we could potentially help out with. But all of that will probably require, again, more trauma surgeons and more PAs and NPs to make things go. a couple of little notifications. We do our performance improvement on the fourth Thursday of every month. We have 2 committee meetings. One is called the Trauma Quality Management Committee, and the other one's the Trauma Performance Improvement and Patient Safety Committee. The first one is by and large physicians and nurses and some others discussing and looking at our cases. Again, we review every death, we review every complication, and kind of drilling down on things and seeing, what improvements can we make. The second meeting is largely a kind of hospital-wide meeting, and that meeting is kind of more to say, like, systems-based. Like, is there a system problem here? How can we fix those problems? And it's in the boardroom on the fourth Thursday of each month. Again, I mentioned Trauma Grand Rounds. These are educational opportunities. We do this every month on the second Thursday from 12 to 1 in the SMH auditorium. It is open to everyone, not just people that are part of trauma. Next month, June 8th, Dr. Paul Danielson is coming down from All Children's Hospital to discuss pediatric trauma initial evaluation and treatment, advice for my adult colleagues. We do this every month, but I did put September 14th up there because I thought this might be of some interest to folks. We're trying to work, we talked about doing trauma success stories periodically. The next one most likely will be in September. I'm trying to work to negotiate with the Walendas to bring them back here, and obviously their schedule's busy. But I know many of you heard about the accident that happened where 8 people fell off a 30-foot tightrope. So I figured it would be good to bring them back so that people can hear the story of their injuries and kind of satisfy some of the curiosity as to what happened and how they're all doing. So I'm just trying to work with them to get that all together. So with that, I would just appreciate your time. Thank you for letting me speak today to the board. I'm happy to be here. If you have any questions, we appreciate the support that you guys are all giving us, and we look forward to being here for years to come. Yes, sir.
Dr. Proctor,
Yes.
I'm of the opinion that all the trauma patients we get are referred to us by the attending EMTs.
Uh-huh.
Does
So,
that fall short, in your opinion, anywhere?
so are you
Is there a
saying,
set of improvement there that ought to be made?
so is your question, are all trauma patients referred here by the paramedics? Is
No,
that
my
the question?
question is, the system that gets the paramedics to bring people here,
Uh-huh.
is there a place in that stack of process that would improve what you do? Or make it easier for do what you do?
So we do meet with EMS. I go to a lot of regional meetings with EMS, local and regional, as well as they come to our trauma performance improvement meeting on the fourth Thursday of each month. So Carson Sanders, who's kind of the chief right now, and Barb O'Connor, who's kind of right underneath him, they come to our meetings, and if there's any issues, we hammer it out at that time.
I don't hear anything that you'd like the board to do for you.
Not with regards to that.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? Yes.
I have a question. Thank you for your presentation.
Sure.
I'm interested in your statistics at the very beginning,
Uh-huh.
And I assume you helped develop the estimates. And I'm curious, why were the estimates so low versus what we're seeing in the first, second, and third year?
So.
And where were those cases going beforehand?
Yeah, so it's a multi-part question. So
Yeah.
the first thing was I was not part of the initial estimates. That was kind of the numbers that when I arrived that we were given. And so where that number came from was that EMS said that previously they transported around 330 patients away from our area to other trauma centers. That's where that number came from. I think that not everything was taken into account with some of the southern stuff, because when you open a trauma center, all the lines are kind of redevised, and so I think we're pulling some stuff from Northport and further south that would have previously gone to, let's say, Lee Memorial to our south, is now coming up here. I think that there was unaccounted for volumes in the area. I think that the referral patterns change, where someone may say previously EMS might have said, well, this doesn't meet our strict criteria where we're going to fly them by a chopper downtown, and maybe they would have gone to one of the other local hospitals. Now that they recognize we're a trauma center and they don't have to go by helicopter somewhere, they're just going to bring them here more frequently. So I think there's a whole host of different reasons why the volume's increasing. My initial estimate was around 1,800, though. That's what I thought would happen. And again, so the first year I was short by a couple hundred, and then this year I never anticipated that we would get to 2,800. So I think we were all sort of wrong on that. But the volume continues to increase. And that,
Thank-
I've opened other trauma centers, and the same thing happened. I opened a trauma center in Michigan. The first year, I think we were around 1,800. Then the next year was like 2,000, and then 2,200. It kind of kept growing similarly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions for Dr.? Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
That was
Thank you, guys.
an excellent presentation. Thank you.
Not me.
Not me this time.
Not me. We're all hearing J. Sue Joy.
So,
and Mary
before you leave, Dr. Brockhurst, hey, I just wanted to thank you on behalf of the hospital, having the confidence and trust in us. And thank you for everything you do. And please pass it on to your team.
The Excel winner for May, David?
I don't know who's playing music, but
It's uplifting music.
it's
I know.
uplifting music. So, Mr. Chairman, I would like to invite our May Excel Award winner up to join me, Keisha Pedro. Keisha, come on up. You get a command performance. So Keisha Pedro is our May Excel Award winner. She is a physical therapist and has been with Sarasota Memorial since 2012. Her coworkers say Keisha consistently goes above and beyond what is expected. They agree she is an exceptional physical therapist. Open communication is her motto. She coordinates her patient therapy plans with nursing, doctors, and ICM. Keisha makes sure activity orders are correct, and she follows up with a nurse after each patient visit, detailing her therapy session. Keisha's peers say her attention to detail and open communication show in her therapy too. Her every interaction with a patient, they say, is inspiring to watch. She is one of the most encouraging therapists on our team. Keisha is professional, pleasant, and friendly, always with a smile on her face. Her coworkers summarize, you can tell she truly loves her job. Thank you so much for everything that you do. It's great. It's great to have you.
If I can take just a second, I'd like to ask Jim Tollerton to come on up here and help present this. Jim started the Excel Awards. What year was it? Because I know you're older than I am. A long time ago, but come help present this plaque. Jim has been a longtime supporter of the hospital and has established this. Excel Award recipients are employees who are models of excellence and consistently demonstrate the mission, vision, and values of our organization. They're superior performers that make an extra effort in the quality and care of our patients and families in the community. Hospital Board and administrative staff of Sarasota Memorial Healthcare System recognizes Keisha Pedro with the Excel Award for the month of May 2007, signed by David Verinder, President, CEO, and our fearless Chairman, Greg Carter, as Chairman.
you.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
But I'm going to pass it to him from you. You got it.
It's your shot. Hey, this is a command performance.
Good
That award
afternoon.
you gave.
I was told I have to keep it short and sweet.
You did not get told that.
No. I just want to thank the board and the staff. It was really an honor to be recognized. We have an awesome staff, and I have wonderful coworkers, so I was really surprised and really honored, so I just want to thank you.
Should I keep going, Mr. Chairman? Okay. So we also have today our Physician Excel Award winner for our first quarter 2017, and I'd like to invite Dr. Elliot Santella to come up and join me. Stand up here, man. You're making me paranoid when you stand behind me. Dr. Santella is our Physician Excel Award winner for first quarter 2017. Dr. Santella is an OBGYN and has been on our staff since 2015. Dr. Centella received many nominations, all with a common theme, that he listens. His coworkers say he takes time to get to know his colleagues and patients, listening and making eye contact when speaking with you. He treats everyone with integrity and respect. To know him is to be greeted by, "Hello, my friend. What can I do for you today?" There's a positive energy in his tone and body language, his coworkers say. His peers also admire his calm, collective manner, even in the most emergent situations. He's a team player, they say, always ready to assist and support staff in complicated deliveries. You can tell that he loves his work. Dr. Centella is a kind, positive, approachable person who makes our OB-ECC run smoothly and efficiently. They conclude it's a pleasure to work with him. Congratulations and thank you.
We're going to put Jim here. Doctor, let me present this on behalf of the board. Physician Excel recipients are physicians who are recognized as role models of excellence, superior in performance, leaders who are consistently demonstrating a collaborative team approach in their work. These individuals strengthen the quality of patient care and the image of Sarasota Memorial Healthcare System in our community. The hospital board and administrative staff recognizes Dr. Elliot Santella with the Excel Award for the first quarter of 2017, signed by our president and also by Chairman Carter and presented by Jim Toller.
Indeed, thank you, Doctor. Thank you. Say a few words.
Well, hi, hello. It has been amazing working in Sarasota Memorial Hospital. As I always said, the administration is very organized, make everything run very smoothly. The nurse staff is great, very educated, and it's very easy working in a hospital with specialties and a trauma team. Make this hospital strong and provide really good quality to our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
David, I think we need a hero award.
As it turns out, Mr. Chairman, I have one today.
What a happy coincidence.
So, we do have a hero award to recognize today for May of 2017. William Parkin. William, you come join. How are you? Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Come stand over here. All right. William Parkin is our Hero Award recipient for May. He is a call center analyst in our IS department. Call center analysts field many incoming calls from SMH staff daily, triaging technical issues from computer issues to service requests. They also do this via email requests. Of course, many of us have thanked William and the call center for being our lifeline, figuratively speaking. One late February night, William became a lifeline quite literally for a stranger in need who inadvertently contacted the call center from an outside line. She was contemplating suicide. With no training in a situation, William managed to remain calm and keep the caller on the phone, talking with her while getting his coworker, Zach, to call 911. William was calmly able to get the caller's name and address, which he passed on to Zach, and he kept talking with her until the police arrived at her home to assist her. Thank you, William, for everything you do and for service to our community.
William, on behalf of the board and the administrative staff, let me present this plaque to you. We hereby induct William Parkin into the Team SMH Hero Hall of Fame for actions that capture the essence of a true hero, including courage to have persistency in the face of fear, passion to always do the right thing, integrity to have a strong moral compass, and concern to have concern for the well-being of others, signed by David Verinder and Greg Carter as chairman. Congratulations, that is quite a story. Quite a story. Why don't you turn around and do Got it. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know what to say. I'm just glad I was able to help her in a time of need.
Okay.
Agenda item is the report of the medical staff from Dr. Scott Stevens, our Chief of Staff.
Thank you. I have two proposed motions for the board to consider. First regarding medicine department rules, and second regarding updated privileging forms.
All right, I will make those motions. The first one is I move approval of the amendments to the rules of the Department of Medicine as recommended by the medical executive committee.
Second.
Motion and a second. Other questions, concerns? Not. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying yes.
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 Opposed? Thank you.
Second motion I'd like to make is I move approval of the forms for the delineation of clinical privileges for family medicine, internal medicine, and hospital medicine, gastroenterology, struggles for all of these, hematology, and medical oncology, nephrology, physical medicine, and rehabilitation, as recommended by the medical executive committee.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Questions or concerns? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next report is the foundation report from Sally Shule.
Thank you, Chairman. We are happy to report that we completed our 16th annual golf tournament on May 5th. We had 196 players, and our gross earnings were up 13%, and our net earnings were up 22% over last year. So we were very happy with that event. Our EPIC campaign, we're still in the middle of our employee partner in caring, and we have 3 weeks remaining. And with that, our donors are up 36%, and our dollars donated are up 52%. And we currently, with 3 weeks remaining, have in as much dollars as we did last year. Our employees donating to PTO time, it's a really great thing. It got music. 83 donors up against last year's total of 67. And we also, my mic is just terrible. And we also had our auction this last week, and proceeds from the auction were up 84% over last year. So we continue to run very successful events. And I also wanted to point out that the latest issue of Envision is in home, and it's all about our community hospital. And we're getting rave reviews. And we also have on the back our new event, the Hospital Gala, and we're getting a lot of calls. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Secretary's report. Chairman Hudson.
Mr. Chairman, I have a brief report for meetings upcoming on Thursday, June the 1st. Between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m., we will conduct a strategic planning session here at the hospital. On Monday, June the 19th, we have 5 meetings. Beginning at 9 o'clock, the Human Resources Committee meeting. Beginning at 10:30, the Mission and Planning Committee meeting. At 12 noon, we will conduct peer review. At 12:30, we will have our financial review. And at 2 p.m., the board meeting in this room. That's all I have to report, Mr. Chairman.
Very much. Treasurer's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move approval of the bad debt and charity care for the month ended April 30th, 2017 in the amount of $15,770,000.
Questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Financial highlights from our Chief Financial Officer, Bill Walton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, everyone. I have the financial highlights for April, and the fiscal year-to-date numbers represent 7 months of activity. So for the system's operating revenue for April, we had $66,966,000 compared to a budget of $62,714,000. Fiscal year-to-date totals $451,314,000 compared to a budget of $430,010,000. Looking at total expenses for the system, for April, $60,775,000 compared to a budget of $61,511,000. Fiscal year to date, total expenses of $427,305,000 compared to a budget of $422,385,000. The operating income for the system in the rating agency format for the month, $9,391,000, generating an operating margin of 13.2%, compared to a budget of $4,298,000, a budgeted operating margin of 6.4%. Fiscal year to date, again, this is through 7 months, operating income of $44,961,000, which is an operating margin of 9.4%, compared to a budget of $29,287,000, a budgeted operating margin of 6.4%. For the hospital's statistics, and this is all April year-to-date numbers, average daily occupancy, 495, compared to a budget of 496. The average length of stay so far, 4.48 days, compared to last year, 4.69 days. Looking at admissions, so far through 7 months, we have 19,986 admissions, compared to a budget of 18,660. Our surgery cases through 7 months, 13,211, compared to a budget of 13,130. And births, we've had 1,966, compared to a budget of 1,977. Continuing with statistics for the hospital, outpatient registrations, 264,507, compared to a budget of 265,884. Registrations in our emergency care centers, 74,158, compared to a budget of 76,284. And the hospital's case mix index so far this year through 7 months, for all patients 1.88, and for Medicare patients 1.98. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report unless there's any questions. Darrell?
Yes. Bill, did I hear you say that our monthly operating expenses this month is $4 million?
The operating expenses for the month, $60,775,000.
Good, yeah. I'm recalling the number 40 million from previous months. Am I wrong?
I believe you're not, I don't believe that's the correct number, sir.
Very well, thank you.
I like the politically correct answer.
No further questions? We'll move to committee reports, and we'll start with Planning Committee. Bill Newman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Mission and Planning Committee met earlier today, Monday, May 15th, 2017. Lori Lang, Chief Operating Officer, and Steve Jackson, Project Development Director for FLAD Architects, presented to the committee an update on the planning efforts for the SMH Comprehensive Cancer Center. Ms. Lang opened the presentation with Sarasota Memorial Hospital's 2017 strategic roadmap, reflecting on how the Cancer Initiative aligns with all 4 pillars of the strategic plan for the health system, and that is improving the community's health through improved access, creating clinical programs to meet patients' needs, services and programs that are patient-centered and relevant through innovative care, and finally achieving the highest quality outcomes by practicing evidence-based medicine while simultaneously enhancing the patient experience and at all times being fiscally responsible. The 6 values of the SMH Comprehensive Cancer Center will be patient-centered design in our facilities and processes, recruiting and retaining physician expertise, offering state-of-the-art technology, engaging in a multidisciplinary approach, providing integrative support, and coordinating all care and communication whereby it is seamless to our patients and their families. The 5 clinical priorities of the SMH Comprehensive Cancer Center will be in these solid tumor sites: lung, gynecology, oncology, colorectal, and other GI, gynecology, urology, prostate, and finally breast. Ms. Lang then focused on the key components of the radiation oncology services in the Cancer Center. Steve Jackson continued the presentation by reviewing the best site location for the cancer facility on the SMH campus and the process used for evaluating the various site options. For the Cancer Center to be constructed on the front lawn of the campus, several areas will need to be relocated to provide space for linear accelerators and other radiology oncology services. These services functions include the auditorium, auxiliary office, gift shop, departure lounge, chapel, and health connections. Locations for these relocated areas, either temporarily or permanently, were presented in concept. The presentation concluded with a glimpse of what the future campus might look like and how it will transform our community and campus. That concludes my report.
Next is the Quality Committee. Joe?
The Quality Committee also met this morning. However, it is a closed session, and therefore I have no report.
Thank you. President's report. David Tranter, our President and CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to start off, as I always do, with our operational organizational report card. This is representative of our fiscal year to date through 2017 through April. We start off in our service pillar. We look at our inpatient HCAHPS scores. We have a goal of being 8 out of 11. We are currently at 7 out of 11, and had quite a good discussion about that this morning, but we'll look into the details in here in just a minute. On the outpatient side, we have a goal of being 55 out of 58 of the domains at the 50th percentile or higher. I am happy to report we're beating that or exceeding that goal at 56 out of 58 of those. In the people pillar, we have turnover of part-time, full-time staff that have been hired within the last 12 months, being at 25% turnover or less. We are just over that at 25.1%. However, that is an improvement over the last score that I reported to this board. In a quality pillar, we have an overall infection prevention, our combined overall standardized infection rate. We have a goal of being less than 0.95. Happy to report that we are hitting that goal at 0.89. Just to remind the board that the national average or expected number is 1.0, so we're always a good bit under that. Financial pillar, as our CFO, Mr. Wojcik, just reported, we have an operating margin goal of being at 5.1%. Happy to report we're tracking higher than that at 6.9%. In the growth pillar, we have 2 goals, the first being our inpatient admissions and observation patients, a goal being at 38,899. I am happy to report we're tracking higher than that at 42,701. And in the outpatient registrations, we have a goal of being at 799,000. We are tracking a little lower than that at 786,000. So looking into the detail of our HCAHPS data, you can see where we have 4 of our goals that are missing the 50th percentile or higher. There are teams of people that continue to work on those, and I can assure the board that we are talking about that at pretty much every day in the organization on how to improve. So more to come. Moving into people, we had the opportunity to celebrate Nurses Week this past May 6th through the 12th. SMH saluted the vital role of our 1,400 plus dedicated nurses play in our providing patients with the highest level of care. Nurses focused on community outreach, promoting the profession in local schools, and collecting donations for the food bank. So you have a couple of pictures here, and SMH's annual Nurse Excellence Ceremony honored the contributions of extraordinary nurses, PCTs, MSTs, and educators and leaders. So thank you all for that. Staying in people, we also had the opportunity to celebrate our volunteers during National Volunteer Week, April 23rd through the 29th. So, April 23rd through the 9th was a National Volunteer Week, but we hope that our 650 volunteers who work in over 45 areas know how much we appreciate their efforts all year. SMH is fortunate to have chosen to share their time and talents with us. Just want to reiterate how important their contributions are to the overall success of this organization and thank each and every one of them. Each year, SMH hosts a reunion of our NICU graduates and their families and invites them to join the SMH Babe Magnet team to raise funds for the March of Dimes annual walk. This year's event on April 29th was another opportunity to reunite families with physicians and nurses who cared for their little ones. So thank you for everyone who helps put this on each and every year. This year's Health Fit Spring Fit 5K was a huge success. So congratulations to first place winner, 11-year-old Brendan Roper, and all the other runners, walkers, egg hunters who participated. And thanks to all the volunteers and staff who made a great event to benefit the SMH Foundation. So it really was an amazing turnout this year. Every year it gets bigger, and I believe we had 800 runners this year. And I think next year we're going to try to accommodate even more than that. So congratulations to everyone. I got to tell you, that kid whose picture you see there, he was like a gazelle out there. I've never seen anybody move so fast in all my life. He left everyone else in the dirt.
Olympics.
SMH celebrates an epic anniversary. The 15th annual Employee Partners and Caring Campaign, also known as EPIC, is underway. Employee support for this campaign has helped Sarasota Memorial Healthcare Foundation raise almost $900,000 for continuing education, facilities, and technology upgrades. This year's goal is to raise $100,000, and so we can surpass the $1 million total mark. So look for our celebrity bartending event on May 18th with your favorite SMH folks serving. And so, Sally, please pass on our thank you for the foundation that helps support this each and every year. So thank you. So with that said, here's your celebrity bartender tending team this year. I'm just happy to be invited back. I was told I was a little bit heavy on the pours in the past, so feel free to come see me again in our time slot because we're not at all competitive on how much we raise, but it is actually a fun time, so I would encourage people to come. In the quality section, Sarasota Memorial once again received an A for patient safety from the Leapfrog Group, an independent nonprofit organization that releases hospital safety report cards twice a year. SMH has now participated in Leapfrog's National Safety Survey twice and received back-to-back A grades in the national report. Just 1/3 of the 2,600 hospitals participating in the voluntary survey received an A in the spring report card. Doesn't happen often, but we got the welcome quads to SMH this past month. The Corcoran quads, 3 boys and a girl, were safely delivered by C-section at SMH on March 28th. Ranging from 2 to just over 3 pounds, the babies were born moments apart. Born at 31 weeks, Harrison, Preston, Jackson, and Lila are thriving at SMH's Level 3 NICU neonatology intensive care unit, the most advanced intensive care nursery in the region for premature, high-risk, and critically ill newborns. So congratulations.
But they went home. They're
Yes.
all at home now.
They are home now.
They took them one at a time.
Sorry, my report's a little bit dated.
No, I didn't, but I talked to the parents.
Staying in quality, May is National Preeclampsia Awareness Month. Preeclampsia is one of the most common complications of pregnancy seen at SMH. The condition results in high blood pressure, which affects 10% of all pregnancies. It's the leading cause known of premature birth. It's the leading cause of baby neonatal and maternal death in Florida, and it especially impacts African American population. The city of Sarasota recently issued a proclamation to bring attention to Preeclampsia Awareness Month in May. On May 6th, SMH staff joined Sarasota's first annual Promise Walk of Preeclampsia. So thank you for all who participated in that, and to the city for recognizing. Sorry. So SMH has opened a milk depot to help to make it easier for local moms to donate their breast milk to struggling preemies. A mother's breast milk is the best food choice, but when a mother's milk isn't available, breast milk is donated by thoroughly screened donors is the next best option for fragile, sick, and premature babies. After screening is complete, moms can drop off frozen milk at SMH's Health Connection on the first floor of the hospital. So, good to know that we do this. As always, we have free lecture series on our website. You can find the physicians that are presenting this month, along with the times and location. I'd encourage you to go to the website and take a look and take advantage of that. We also want to welcome some new physicians. We welcome George Toth, who has joined our FPG Internal Medicine, Pediatrics, and Family Practice in our Northport office this month. Dr. Toth provides a full spectrum of family medicine from pediatrics and adult care to geriatrics. Prior to moving to Sarasota, Dr. Toth worked as a physician for the El Paso VA healthcare system in El Paso, Texas, and for Orlando VA Medical Center in Lake Baldwin, Florida. Dr. Toth's leadership experience includes Chief of Medicine Services at the El Paso VA Health System, Family Medicine Chief at Tampa General Hospital, and Interim Director at Tampa Community Health Clinics. He also served as Associate Professor for Clinical Medicine at the University of Central Florida and University of South Florida, and helped design the ambulatory clinical rotations and core curriculum for residents at Texas Tech University. So please extend our welcome to Dr. Toth for joining. We also would like to welcome Julianne Kenton Hanley, who has joined our FPG's obstetrics and gynecology practice with Drs. Finazzo and Maureen McGuire on April 24th. Previously, she served as an attending physician at Sarasota Memorial Hospital and worked in private practice. She came to Sarasota in November 2015 from Sacred Heart Hospital in Pensacola, where she served as an associate professor in Florida State University's residency program and an attending physician from 2010 to 15. Dr. Hanley earned her master's degree at Harvard University and her medical degree in Poland. She returned to the States and to complete an internal medicine residency at Johns Hopkins University in 2005 and completed an OBGYN residency at Louisiana State University in New Orleans in 2010. So please extend a welcome to her. IFAM, all right, so Sarasota Memorial's Institute for Advanced Medicine recently changed its name to the Sarasota Memorial Healthcare Center at Clark Road. The name change will help readily identify the facility's location and unify it with SMH's regional network of ambulatory centers. The healthcare center at Clark will continue to be a home to a wide array of primary care, outpatient diagnostic, and wellness services, including radiology, lab, specialized rehabilitation, pain care, bariatric program, and First Physicians Group offices. Our Health Fit Center also is located in that facility. On May 8th, this past May 8th, SMH hosted a community-wide meeting in Newtown to share information about our new internal medicine residency program and internal medicine practice in Newtown opening this July. Working under the supervision of SMH's board-certified physicians, the resident physicians at the new practice will provide a reliable source of primary care to as many as 1,800 new patients in the first year, especially those with chronic health issues who have been unable to access or afford ongoing care in the past. Mr. Chairman, that is my report. Glad to answer any questions.
Any questions for David? Very much, David.
Thank you.
I don't think we have anything on the consent agenda. Have any public comments, Karen?
Mr. Chairman, if you please, may I have a moment or two? Thank you, sir. I think the nurses and the PCTs are well aware of my appreciation for what they do and who they are and how much they chose to do this. During the last celebration, I was unable to attend For that, I apologize. I love you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Darrell. Legal matters. Carolyn?
I have nothing to report.
And I don't think we have any other business, so at this time, we are adjourned.